The morning after that long, stormy night came softly. Pale sunlight filtered through the curtains, resting on Ethan's face as he slept at the kitchen table. His mother, Sarah, watched him in silence. He looked younger somehow, like the boy who used to come home from school complaining about homework and football practice. Except now, his face carried the quiet weight of a man who had been broken by love. Sarah brewed fresh coffee and stood by the window, her thoughts restless. Everything Ethan had said the night before still echoed in her mind: Lily leaving, the pregnancy, and worst of all, Mark's name. Mark, her late husband's closest friend. She hadn't seen him in months, but she still remembered his easy smile, his presence at every family event, the way her husband trusted him with everything. Could it really be true? When Ethan stirred, Sarah turned and smiled gently. "Good morning, sweetheart. You should get some rest in your old room." He rubbed his eyes and nodded, his voice rough. "Yeah, I didn't mean to fall asleep here." "You needed it," she said softly. "I'll make breakfast." He sat down again, watching her move about the kitchen, flipping eggs and buttering toast just like she used to. It brought a flicker of comfort, something familiar in a world that suddenly felt upside down. After a few minutes, he said quietly, "Mom, I don't know what to do. Should I try to talk to Lily again? Or just move on?" Sarah set a plate in front of him and sat down. "I think right now you shouldn't make any big decisions. You're hurt, and hurt people don't think clearly." He nodded, though the helplessness in his eyes didn't fade. "It's just," he stopped, shaking his head. "I can't get her face out of my mind the way she said it, like she'd already made her peace." Sarah reached out and placed her hand over his. "Then let her go, Ethan. If she's already gone in her heart, chasing her will only make it worse." He stayed quiet, his eyes fixed on the table. Then softly he said, "But I can't stop wondering why she told me the truth at all. If she wanted to leave, why not just go? Why tell me who it was?" Sarah thought for a moment. Maybe guilt. Maybe she thought you deserved honesty, no matter how painful. He sighed, staring down. "It doesn't feel like honesty. It feels like cruelty." There was no answer for that. Later that afternoon, Ethan decided to go for a walk to clear his mind. The air outside was crisp, and autumn leaves crunched beneath his shoes. Sarah stayed behind, cleaning the kitchen, her thoughts circling back to Mark. She hadn't heard from him since her husband's funeral 2 years ago. They'd been close, almost family. He had supported her through the hardest months after losing her husband, bringing groceries, checking in. But as time went on, his visits became less frequent. She assumed he was simply giving her space. Now, hearing his name tied to Lily, it felt like the floor beneath her had shifted. She needed to know the truth. By early evening, she picked up her phone and scrolled through old contacts. Mark's number was still there. Her thumb hovered over it for a long moment before she finally pressed call. The line rang twice before a deep, familiar voice answered. "Sarah." "Hi, Mark," she said quietly. "It's been a while." There was a pause. "Yeah, it has. How are you?" "I've been better," she admitted. "I need to talk to you about something. Something important." His tone changed instantly. "What's wrong? Are you okay?" "It's not me," she said slowly. "It's Ethan and Lily." Another pause, this one longer, heavier. "What about them?" he asked carefully. "Ethan came home last night. He told me Lily left him, and she said she's pregnant. She said the father is someone he knows. Someone close." Her voice trembled slightly. "She said it was you." For a long moment there was nothing but silence. Sarah could hear her own heartbeat in her ears. Finally, Mark spoke softly, almost regretfully. "I was afraid you'd find out." Sarah felt her stomach twist. "So it's true." He sighed. "It wasn't supposed to happen, Sarah, I swear. Lily came to me a few months ago. She said she was struggling, that Ethan was distant, always working. We started talking just as friends at first. Then things crossed a line." Sarah gripped the edge of the counter to steady herself. "Mark, she's half your age, and she's your best friend's son's wife." "I know," he said, his voice filled with shame. "I hate myself for it. It was a mistake. the biggest of my life." She closed her eyes, anger and disbelief flooding through her. "A mistake. You destroyed his marriage, Mark. You betrayed both of us." "I know," he said again, his tone breaking. "And I'm sorry, Sarah, more than I can say. But I need you to understand something. It wasn't what it looked like. It wasn't love. It was loneliness." Sarah laughed bitterly, a sound that didn't feel like her own. "Loneliness doesn't excuse betrayal." "I know it doesn't," he said quietly. "And I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't want Ethan to hate himself because of me. Tell him the truth that it wasn't his fault. It was mine." Sarah didn't reply. She ended the call without another word. For a few minutes, she just stood there, staring at the silent phone. She felt everything at once: betrayal, sadness, exhaustion. Mark's words echoed in her mind. Loneliness. Was that all it took to tear a family apart? When Ethan came home later, he found his mother sitting by the window, her face pale and distant. "Mom, what's wrong?" he asked immediately. She looked up, her eyes wet. "Ethan, I talked to Mark." He froze. "You did what?" "I had to," she said. "I needed to know the truth." Ethan's voice was sharp now. "And what did he say?" Sarah hesitated, then spoke softly. "He admitted it. Everything." Ethan's hands clenched into fists. "So it's true," he whispered. "He didn't even deny it." "I'm sorry," Sarah said quietly. "I wish I could tell you otherwise." He paced across the room, his jaw tight. "I trusted him, Mom. He was like family." "Kano," she said softly. "He was your father's friend for 30 years. Ethan stopped pacing and turned to her. His eyes filled with hurt. "Then how could he do this?" To us, Sarah had no answer. She stood and walked over to him, placing a hand on his arm. "I don't know, Ethan. But you can't let his actions define you. You have to find a way to heal." He shook his head, tears welling. "I don't even know where to start." "Start by forgiving yourself," she whispered. "You did nothing wrong." Ethan didn't respond. He just looked away, his face pale and distant. Later that night, after he went to bed, Sarah sat alone in the kitchen again. The quiet of the house felt heavier than usual. She stared at an old photo on the wall, her late husband smiling beside Mark, both of them young and full of life. She remembered how they used to joke about growing old together, how her husband always said, "Mark's like a brother. He'll always be around for you and Ethan." She closed her eyes. The irony stung Dot just then. Her phone buzzed again, a text from an unknown number. She opened it hesitantly. It read, "Sarah, it's Lily. Please don't hate me. There's something you don't know." Sarah's pulse quickened. Her fingers hovered over the screen. "Something you don't know? What could possibly make this worse or better?" She hesitated, then typed back, "What do you mean, Lily?" The reply came almost instantly. "I didn't leave because of Mark. There's another reason. I can explain everything, but not over the phone." Sarah's hands trembled as she read the message again. Another reason. Before she could respond, another text arrived. "Please, meet me tomorrow morning. The truth will hurt, but you deserve to know." Sarah sat back, her heart pounding. Whatever this truth was, she could feel it. It wasn't just about Ethan and Lily anymore. It was about something deeper, something that reached into the past. As the night deepened and the house grew quiet, Sarah stared at the phone on the table. For the first time in years, she was afraid not of what had already happened, but of what was still waiting to be uncovered. And as the clock struck midnight again, she whispered to herself, "What else have you hidden, Lily?" The knock came softly at first, just 2 quick taps on the door, but in the stillness of the night, sounded almost thunderous. Sarah Parker woke instantly. Her small home in Portland, Oregon was quiet, except for the rhythmic ticking of the clock on the living room wall. She glanced toward it, 11:58 p.m. Who could possibly be knocking at this hour? She hesitated before getting up, pulling her robe tighter around her shoulders. The air was cool, and a faint drizzle tapped against the window. As she moved toward the door, her mind ran through possibilities. A neighbor in trouble. a mistake, or maybe some emergency. But when she opened the door, everything inside her froze. It was her son. Ethan. He stood there under the porch light, soaked from the rain, his brown hair plastered to his forehead. Eyes hollow and tired. He didn't say a word at first, just looked at her like someone searching for a place to rest after a long storm. "Ethan," Sarah whispered, startled. "What on earth are you doing here at this hour?" He didn't answer. Instead, he stepped forward and wrapped his arms around her. The hug was desperate, tight, and trembling. It had been years since he'd hugged her like that, not since his father's funeral. Sarah's heart squeezed. Something terrible had happened. "Come in," she said quickly, guiding him inside and shutting the door behind him. The warmth of the house surrounded them, but Ethan still looked cold. Lost in some faraway place, she led him to the kitchen. The place where every serious conversation in their family had always begun. She put on the kettle, her hands moving automatically. "Sit," she said softly. "I'll make you tea." Ethan obeyed silently, sitting at the table, eyes fixed on nothing. The silence stretched, heavy and sharp. When the kettle whistled, Sarah poured him a cup and set it in front of him. He stared at the steam rising from the mug, but didn't touch it. Finally, she sat across from him and asked gently, "What's wrong, sweetheart?" He looked up slowly, his eyes wet and distant. "It's Lily," he said. Sarah's heart sank. Lily, his wife, his college sweetheart, the woman he'd loved since he was 20. Sarah had watched their relationship grow from laughter and dreams to quiet dinners and shared bills. They had seemed solid, dependable. But from the look on Ethan's face, she knew something had cracked open. What about her? Sarah asked carefully. Ethan took a shaky breath. "She left me." Sarah blinked, unsure if she'd heard him right. "Left you, Ethan? What do you mean?" He rubbed his temples, his voice breaking. "She said she needed time to think. She packed a bag, said she didn't love me anymore, and then she walked out." Sarah sat back, her hand instinctively covering her mouth. The image of Lily smiling at family dinners, helping in the garden, always polite, clashed with the coldness of what Ethan just said. "I thought maybe she was just upset," he continued, "but then she told me the real reason. She said she felt trapped, that she wanted to find herself. But, Mom, I know what that means." He looked up, his voice trembling. "I think she met someone else." Sarah's heart twisted painfully. She wanted to deny it, tell him it wasn't true, that maybe Lily was confused or just going through a hard time. But she could see the truth in her son's eyes. "I'm so sorry," she said softly, reaching across the table to hold his hand. "You didn't deserve that." Ethan let out a bitter laugh, the kind that hides pain behind it. "I thought love meant staying, working through things. I never imagined she'd just leave." He fell silent again, staring at the tea he hadn't touched. The rain outside grew heavier, tapping against the windows in slow, rhythmic waves. The sound filled the space between them. After a long pause, Ethan whispered, "That's not even the worst part." Sarah's stomach tightened. "What do you mean?" He hesitated, his voice shaking. "Before she left, she told me she's pregnant." Sarah froze. The word hit like a shock. Pregnant. He nodded slowly. "But she said, 'It's not mine.'" The room fell silent, except for the sound of rain. Sarah felt the air leave her lungs. She stared at him, unsure what to say. He looked down, tears sliding down his face. "Can you imagine hearing that from the person you love most?" She said it so calmly, like she'd already made peace with it. "I didn't even know what to say. I just walked out." Sarah's mind spun. Every part of her wanted to protect him, to make the pain disappear. But there were no words big enough to fix a broken heart like that. She reached across again, clutching his hand tightly. "Ethan, listen to me. None of this is your fault. People make choices, terrible ones sometimes, but you are not to blame." He shook his head. "It feels like I am. Maybe I worked too much. Maybe I wasn't enough. Don't you say that?" Sarah said firmly. "You gave her your best. If she couldn't see that, it's her loss." They sat there in silence for a while. The tea had gone cold, but neither cared. After a long pause, Ethan's voice grew softer, more hesitant. "There's something else I haven't told you." Sarah braced herself. "What is it?" He hesitated, struggling to find words. She said, "She didn't just meet anyone. She said the man was someone I knew." Sarah frowned. "What do you mean, someone you knew?" Ethan's eyes darkened. "Someone close. Someone I trusted." The air in the room thickened. Sarah's mind began racing through names, friends, coworkers, neighbors. Ethan swallowed hard. She said, "It was Dad's best friend." Sarah went completely still. "Mark?" she whispered. He nodded. "She said it just before she left. Said she didn't mean for it to happen, that it just did." The words echoed in her head, crashing against old memories. Mark laughing with her husband at family barbecues, bringing gifts at Christmas, helping fix the porch. He had been part of their family for decades. Sarah leaned back, her eyes stinging. "Oh, Ethan," she whispered, her voice trembling. He covered his face with his hands. "I can't believe it, Mom. I can't believe the people I trusted most could do this." For a moment, Sarah didn't know if she was comforting her son or holding herself together. The betrayal ran deep, not just for him, but for her too. She stood up quietly and walked to the window. The rain blurred the streetlights outside, turning them into streaks of gold and gray. "Your father trusted Mark," she said softly. "He thought of him as a brother." "I know," Ethan said, his voice breaking. "That's what makes it worse. It feels like it's all falling apart. My marriage, my faith in people, everything." Sarah turned back to him, her heart aching. She wanted to tell him that time heals, that pain fades, but in that moment she couldn't lie. The hurt was too raw. Instead, she placed her hand on his shoulder. "You'll get through this," she said. "You're stronger than you think." He looked up at her, eyes filled with tears. "I don't feel strong." "You don't have to," she said gently. "You just have to keep breathing until it hurts a little less." They sat there for a long time, mother and son, in the small kitchen filled with rainlight and silence. The pain was heavy, but beneath it there was something quiet, love, the kind that didn't need fixing or words. As midnight turned to morning, the storm began to fade. Ethan leaned back in his chair, exhausted. "I don't know what to do now," he murmured. Sarah looked at him, her eyes full of both sadness and determination. "For now, you rest. Tomorrow we'll figure it out." He nodded, his head finally lowering onto his arms. Sarah sat beside him, watching her grown son fall asleep at the same table where she once helped him with homework. Life had a cruel way of circling back, reminding her that even adults sometimes need a mother's quiet strength. She brushed a strand of hair from his forehead and whispered, "You're not alone, Ethan. Not now, not ever." But even as she said it, something inside her stirred, a faint, uneasy feeling that the truth Lily left behind was not yet complete. There was more to the story, something deeper and darker waiting beneath the silence. And as the first light of dawn crept through the rain-streaked window, Sarah knew this night was only the beginning of a truth that would change both of their lives forever. The next morning, Sarah barely slept. Lily's message replayed in her mind again and again, "There's something you don't know." She sat on the porch with a cup of untouched coffee, staring at the fog lifting from the fields. The house was quiet except for the faint sound of Ethan moving upstairs. She didn't tell him about the text. Not yet. She needed to understand the truth before dragging him back into more pain. At 9 sharp, Sarah drove to the small cafe on the edge of town, the one Lily had mentioned in her message. The morning sun was soft, but her heart felt heavy. She parked near the window and spotted Lily immediately. She was sitting alone in a corner booth, wearing a gray coat, her hands clasped tightly around a cup of tea. Her face looked pale, almost haunted. When Sarah entered, Lily stood up quickly. "Mrs. Reynolds, thank you for coming." Sarah nodded, her expression calm but guarded. "You said there's something I don't know. I hope it's worth all this." Lily gestured for her to sit. "It is. I owe you and Ethan the truth." Sarah folded her hands on the table. "Then tell me." Lily took a deep breath, her voice trembling at first. It's true that I told Ethan I was pregnant and that I said Mark was the father. But that wasn't the whole story. It wasn't the truth, not completely. Sarah frowned. What do you mean? I said Mark because I wanted Ethan to hate me, Lily whispered. I wanted him to walk away. Sarah stared at her, disbelief flickering across her face. You wanted him to hate you? Why on earth would you want that? Lily's eyes filled with tears. Because the baby isn't Mark's either. It's Ethan's. Sarah froze. What? Lily nodded, crying now. I panicked. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was saving him. Saving him from what? Lily took another shaky breath, her hands trembling. From the truth about your husband. About his father. Sarah's heart seemed to stop. My husband. Lily nodded. I found out something that changes everything. Ethan's father, Daniel, had a secret before he died. Mark knew about it. That's how all of this started. Sarah gripped the table, her voice firm. You need to explain, Lily. Start from the beginning. Lily looked down, then began. A few months ago, Ethan and I were struggling. He was distant, working late, barely talking. I felt lonely, unwanted. So one night I went to Mark's house. He's always been kind, a little too kind sometimes. He told me stories about Daniel, about how much your husband had trusted him. Then he said something strange. He said he once made a promise to Daniel he couldn't keep. Sarah frowned. What promise? Lily wiped her eyes. That he would protect you and Ethan no matter what, and that he would never tell you the truth about something Daniel did years ago. Sarah's chest tightened. What truth? Lily hesitated, then said softly, Daniel had another family, Sarah, before you met him. A woman he was with for a short time. They had a child, a daughter. He left them when he married you. Sarah felt dizzy. No, that can't be true. It is, Lily said, her voice breaking. Mark told me that Daniel spent years sending money to the woman in secret. After Daniel died, she reached out to Mark, not to ask for help, but to tell him she was dying and wanted her daughter to know about her father. Mark didn't know what to do. He didn't want to destroy your memories of Daniel. Sarah's hands shook as she whispered, so he kept it from me. Lily nodded. Yes, but that's not all. The daughter, her name is Anna, she came to town last year. She started working at the hospital. She met Ethan by chance. They didn't know who each other were at first. Sarah's breath caught. What are you saying? I'm saying, Lily said softly, that Anna is your husband's daughter and Ethan's half-sister. The words hit Sarah like a storm. She couldn't move, couldn't speak. Every sound around her faded, the chatter of the cafe, the clinking cups, everything disappeared under the weight of what she had just heard. Lily continued in a trembling voice. When Mark found out that Ethan and Anna were getting close, he panicked. He didn't know how to tell either of you. He came to me one night drunk and told me everything. He begged me to help him stop Ethan from marrying me because he was afraid the truth would come out in the wrong way. Sarah's eyes were wide with disbelief. And you decided to lie? To ruin everything instead of telling the truth? I didn't know what else to do. Lily cried. If Ethan found out, it would destroy him. He adored his father. So I made myself the villain. I told him I was pregnant with Mark's child so he'd hate me and move on. Sarah leaned back, her heart racing. She wanted to scream, to cry, to undo everything that had just been said. And now? Why tell me this now? Because Anna reached out to me last week, Lily said quietly. She's moving away. She knows the truth now too. Mark finally confessed everything before he left town. I thought you deserved to hear it from me before it becomes public gossip. Sarah pressed her hands over her face. Oh my God. There was a long silence. Then Sarah looked up, her eyes cold but steady. You should have told Ethan the truth, Lily. He deserves to know. We both do. Lily nodded, wiping her tears. Oh well, I just didn't know how to face him. Sarah stood, her voice calm but firm. You'll face him today. Come with me. Lily hesitated, but the determination in Sarah's eyes left no room for argument. When they reached home, Ethan was sitting on the porch steps, staring into the distance. His expression darkened the moment he saw Lily. What is she doing here? Sarah stepped forward. Ethan, listen to me. You need to hear her out. He shook his head. No, Mom, I've heard enough lies. Lily spoke quickly, her voice breaking. Ethan, please. Just give me one chance. I lied to you. Yes, but not for the reason you think. Ethan stood up. Why should I believe anything you say? Because this isn't about me anymore, Lily said. It's about your father. Stopped him. He frowned, confused. My father. Sarah stepped closer. Ethan, your dad had another child. A daughter. Ethan froze. What? Lily continued softly. Her name is Anna. She's your half-sister. The color drained from Ethan's face. That's impossible. I wish it were, Sarah said gently. But it's true. Mark confirmed it. He kept it from us to protect your father's memory. Ethan stared at them both, trying to process everything. So, Anna. She didn't know either, Lily said quickly. Neither of you did. It was an accident. Nobody's to blame for that. Ethan sat down heavily, his face pale. I don't even know what to feel right now. Sarah knelt beside him, her voice soft. You don't have to feel anything yet, Ethan. Just breathe. We'll face this together. For a while, no one spoke. The wind rustled through the trees, carrying away the tension piece by piece. Then Ethan finally whispered, Where's Mark now? Lily looked down. He left town. Said he needed to make peace with himself. Ethan nodded slowly. Maybe that's for the best. Sarah reached for his hand. We can't change what's already happened, but we can decide what to do next. He looked at her, tears filling his eyes. I just wanted a simple life, Mom. A family. Now everything feels like a lie. Sarah squeezed his hand. No, Ethan, not everything. You still have the truth now, and the truth means you can start over. Lily wiped her eyes. I'm sorry for everything, Ethan. Truly. He took a deep breath, then nodded slowly. Maybe one day I can forgive you, but not today. She nodded. That's enough for me. When Lily left, Sarah sat beside her son quietly. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and gold. For the first time in a long while, there was silence. Not the kind that hurts, but the kind that heals. Ethan leaned his head back and sighed. You know, Mom, maybe it's time to stop looking for answers in the past. Sarah smiled faintly. Maybe it is. And as the last light faded, she realized something, truth. No matter how painful, always brings peace. Eventually. And that night, though their world had changed, they both felt a strange sense of calm. Because sometimes broken stories still find a way to end in quiet forgiveness.